Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for making time to join us. My name is Amy Anderson, and I am the Avid and Post-Secondary District Director for Ector County ISD. So today we're going to be learning about the nonprofit sectors and all the different opportunities for employment and careers and how to get there. So our students will be coming in and they'll be joining. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. And so know that you're captured forever out there on the web.
Yay.
So this morning, Mike Mills will be hosting and moderating and helping us navigate the waters of the nonprofit sector. So Mike, please introduce yourself and let us know what you do, and you may begin.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, thank you so much for this. And it is an absolute honor to be able to just meet you, even though I can't see you, but I know you're there. And we have a great heart for our students. And my name, again, is Mike Mills. I'm the Interim Executive Director for Educate Midland. I'm also the Program Director for Educate Midland. And so I have traveled in the nonprofit business or world I'm into 9 years. That's hard to believe. So the time gets away, and that must mean I'm getting older. But what I have seen in this process is there are so many different opportunities in the nonprofit sector that can take care of you personally, financially, but it also has a role and a purpose in our community to make a difference in people's lives. And the diversity in the nonprofit world ranges from, like, the Boy Scouts have a ranch down in the Alpine area, and they have to keep that ranch going with horses, to the YMCAs, to orphanages that take care of our students who don't have parents. And there are programs out there that will make sure homeless people have shelter. It just goes on and on and on and on. Everything from food bank to soup kitchens and everything in between. So there is a great opportunity as you look in here, as we go through this talk today, for making a difference in your community and being paid to do it at the same time. I've always said I've got the best job in the world, and they actually pay me to do it. So that's pretty awesome. So that being said, I'm going to moderate. So that means I need to stop talking and introduce some of our panel here. And I want to start with Christine. Is it Bussy? Am I saying your name right?
It's Bussy.
Bussy. There you go. It's Bussy. Christine, thank you for joining us. And we'd love if you would kind of share with us a little bit of your backstory, your education details, your current career, your current position, and what some of your responsibilities are.
Okay, Mike. Well, first, let me just say that I am so honored to be here and to speak to you students. I consider this a huge privilege. And so thank you for listening to me. And my name is Christine Bussy. I was raised in the local church, and I love the local church. When I was a child, I encountered men and women that loved me in the name of Jesus. And not only did they help introduce me to my Savior, but they walked with me and helped me grow and strengthen in my faith. And so when I became a teenager and I was thinking, where am I going to go to school? I felt this call on my life that, you just can't explain. It was supernatural. And so that led me to Bible college. And I got my degree in children's ministry. I feel that I was really fortunate to have such a blessed childhood and such an awesome experience in the local church that I wanted to replicate that for other kids. I have been in children's ministry for almost 20 years. So I started when I was 12. Just joking.
You said your age well, so yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I'll take it. But it really is my passion that every kid that walks into a local church feels like this is a place where they belong, and that there's people that want to know them because I believe they should be known. And I think every single one of us has a unique design, called, and gifting on our lives. And I want to help kids discover that and live that out. And so one of the misconceptions I think about maybe being a children's minister is you think that you're only with kids. And that is just not true. And so really the bulk of my job is reading and just looking at curriculums and deciding which is the best curriculum to implement into different grade levels. I spend a lot of my time equipping servant leaders. We don't call the people that serve in our church volunteers. We call them servant leaders because Jesus in Mark 10, he tells us that, he didn't come to be served, but he came to serve. And so for our volunteers, we call them servant leaders because they are modeling Jesus. And so I spend a lot of my time, scheduling. I work through a database. I get to go to meetings where we get to learn and discover best practices about how to care for people and to help them, equip them for the work of ministry. And so probably the best part of my job really is the people. I get to surround myself with incredible people. And one of the things that God just gave me a love for others. And so I just believe it is a joy to serve in the church. I believe that you tap into just a divine power when you serve in the local church. And it's one of those places where you can walk away feeling like you got more than you gave when you serve in the name of Jesus. And so it's really special, and it's been a real privilege. And one of the hardest parts maybe about my job is also the people, because I get to walk through people with people through some valleys and some trials. And I consider that a privilege to get to walk with them. So,
Christine, thank you so much. And because our panel's so large, I've got to move on. But thank you for sharing your story, how you got here, and just the heart of compassion that you have in the job that you do. That's inspiring. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to throw the ball now over to Mr. Elizondo with Communities and Schools and give you some time to share about your journey into the position you're in your education background and the current responsibilities that you find yourself engaged in.
All right, thanks, Mike. My name is Elizondo. I'm the Executive Director of Communities and Schools of the Permian Basin. And so in a nutshell, what we do is we're a dropout prevention program. And so we're on probably, those of you tapping in, we're probably on your campus at some point, or you may be aware of our program there where you're at. We work with kids that are at risk, and at risk doesn't mean necessarily poor. Just means you've had some issues in the past, or family issues or financial issues. And so that have kind of tripped you up at school. And so we provide wraparound services to keep kids in school, provide them whatever resources we need to, and help you get graduated and get ready for the next level. So that's what it's all about. Again, I'm the executive director, which means I'm the head person. I do have a board of directors that I report to, along with my wife. And so we have, you can never get away from bosses. Don't ever fool yourself. And so there's always somebody you got to report to no matter what you do. My background is different from probably traditional from a lot of the folks. Maybe I'm not sure about everybody on this panel, but in the nonprofit business world for sure. So I spent 20 plus years in the technology fields and sciences. I'm actually a chemist by training and part-time physicist. And so I worked in environmental engineering firm, and then moved over there. I have a chemistry degree and with a minor in physics, and I have a master's in business, so MBA. So that we were talking about a little bit earlier. And worked in the semiconductor industry, which is chip making down in Austin. So I worked for Motorola, among other companies. And so led some international, multinational groups, and was in charge of a big chunk of business and stuff when I was at Motorola. Before I segued back into full-time into education and nonprofit. And so the other part of that, I like to tell that part first, because the rest of the story, real briefly, hopefully here, is that I come from a very poor background. I'm Mexican American and very proud of it, but grew up here in Texas. My parents were migrant farm workers. I'm the first generation college goer. I'm the first person in my family to get a master's degree. And, you know, I grew up working in the fields, cotton fields, not the oil fields, but the cotton fields of the Panhandle. And that's what I did after school and in the summers. And so, like I said, my parents were uneducated. My mom had a 6th grade education. My father had a 2nd grade education before they had to drop out and work when they were young. And so, yeah, so it was a lot to overcome, but you know, my parents have made me happy. I knew education was the key. So like I said, from there to running an international, multinational team for Motorola. So, and then here I am in the nonprofit world.
And great things happening with communities and schools. It keeps expanding and growing. I keep hearing awesome things. So
thanks, Mike.
Thank you for your leadership. All right, I want to now introduce Miss Carrie Hennigan with United Way of Midland. And you and I were just on a call a little bit ago working on some stuff. So here we go again. So Carrie, thanks for being here. And again, if you'll share just your personal story, your education background, career details, your current position, and maybe some of what your responsibilities are. So thanks, Carrie. Oh, you're on mute. We got to unmute you.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm really excited to be here today and to be able to share. I have kind of a strange background as well. I grew up with a single mom and she worked 2 jobs. And so I went through junior high, college, mainly taking care of my siblings while I was going through, you know, trying to graduate and that kind of thing. So I went to a 2-year college so that I could continue that while I was going to school and taking care of my siblings at home. And then I went on into my last couple of years at SMU. And I became a State Farm agent. So I worked for State Farm for 18 years, got my license in Texas and in Florida. And I fell in love with working with people and just helping them through different situations they were going through and the hard times. And I realized that my passion really was in the nonprofit world. I sat on a couple of boards. I was actually on an allocation committee through the United Way. And that's how I got into the nonprofit world. And I've been in the nonprofit world for almost 20 years. I started off as a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society and have worked for several nonprofits through the years, Habitat, Red Cross, and I worked for a domestic violence shelter. I became not only a local fundraiser, a state fundraiser, and a national fundraiser with the Red Cross. So I loved the fundraising aspect because I was able to help bring the mission to the community and help fund that along the way and tell the story over and over to different folks that may not quite understand what the nonprofit did. And so I really fell in love with that aspect and became an executive director when I was in Alabama through the Red Cross, and really enjoy this aspect of being the leader of the nonprofit and being able to shape the goals and the direction that we're going is a lot of fun and challenging, has its good challenges and bad challenges. And with the United Way, we have a unique aspect of being able to be a convener. So we can take an issue within the community and work through that issue with nonprofits, with business world, and really help create a solution to the problem. And I love that aspect about United Way. So I love working with the other nonprofits and the different folks within the community on different issues and helping to problem solve. So that's my story.
And Carrie, you really spoke to this fundraising. That's a key thing for our nonprofits. Without fundraising, we don't have that cash flow because we don't make machines and engines and sell things. We provide services. And so we lean in with our community to raise funding. And thank you for the work you're doing in Midland. We are so glad you're here. All right, I'm gonna jump over to Christina Escobar with United Way Odessa. And Christina, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for allowing us to come out and speak to you guys and join the rest of the group. My name is Christina Escobar once again, and I am the Assistant Director for your United Way of Odessa. I'm approaching 8 years. I can hardly believe it myself, but it's been 8 years. Began with the organization as a front office manager and slowly moved my way up into community impact and now assistant director. So my educational background is a current student at Odessa College, recent graduate with business leadership. I am a first generation graduate, started with limited options in the past. Besides that being, we had everything we needed and we appreciate everything. But back in those times, we just didn't have those opportunities. I'm a true example of that. That changed. So I'm fortunate for everything I've been allowed up until now, of course, also with my employment assistance. My career details, a little different. I was in the banking background, really wasn't my niche. Ended up in the nonprofit field through a former executive director who was Tom Purcell. He had transitioned into this field and kind of dragged me along, said, I have an opportunity for you. And again, it was just front office manager, but I was intrigued and I came on board, and here's where I am. My position entails primarily as a United Way and as a position is to serve those nonprofit organizations that we financially support, anywhere from an educational aspect to emergency needs, basic needs, and or healthcare needs. We exist to support those organizations. Therefore, our responsibilities are to go out into communities and speak to, whether it be our students, our financial aspects of the community, our oil and gas, whatever aspect that may be, that allows us to come out and speak to them and advocate the message, deliver the message, and acquire their understanding and their support in order to be able to support our agencies. They are the boots on ground. They deliver the services to the clients. They are the ones who see the entire true need and live through hardships, because those are a lot of hardships that come to their doors and that they have to try to serve and fill, and it gets tough.
Yeah.
But they are seeing that true need, and that's where their focus should be. Therefore, if we are in the back trying to gather and accrue those donations from our community members, it makes it easy to deliver to them so that they can focus on those clients and they can deliver the needs that they so greatly need. So that is basically why we exist. And my role in the organization is to work directly with those organizations, whether it be a new applicant or an existing agency, to serve them, whether that be networking, questions, volunteer opportunities that they may need volunteers for, or making final decisions on their funding award, their reporting requirements, you name it, and then fill in other areas in the organization. But I feel that this position, this organization has satisfied me, because going back to the client, there's extreme needs. And when you are able to help or fill those needs, you are doing something great in a community and not just earning a paycheck.
That's amazing, Christina. And again, we're back to raising funds so we can support organizations that do direct services for our kids, our families, our communities. So Christina, thank you for your focus and your drive. We appreciate it. All right, Lori Johnson, I'm so glad you're here, and you have a large mission. So thanks for being here. Kind of share your journey and what you get to do.
Okay, I will say the Nonprofit Management Center is probably a place that a large portion of the people listening have never heard of, because our job is to help nonprofits. we are a nonprofit as well, but we provide information assistance, education, consulting, technical assistance, support to help nonprofits build their capacity to better serve their constituents. So I can't tell you about the puppies and the kittens and the old folks, even though I get to work with all those groups. I work to help the nonprofit sector. And like many have mentioned, I did not get out of high school and decide I'm going to go work in a nonprofit organization. It was actually not anything I probably really had thought about. When I graduated from college, I moved to Odessa as a news director of a radio station. I was a radio, TV, film graduate. And after about 2 years, realized how I was really not qualified for that. So I jumped and went to the corporate side and worked in corporate marketing and PR. I actually have my accreditation in public relations practice, which I'm the only one between Fort Worth and El Paso that has that right now. And I worked for 27 years in the for-profit sector with people like Clayton Williams and Middle Memorial Hospital and AdMark Southwest with an ad agency. And in almost 15 years ago, 2 weeks short, the Nonprofit Management Center called and asked me if I would be interested in joining them as an associate director. And when they asked me in the interview, they said, why are you interested in this job? I said, I don't know. You called me. I was completely happy, loved what I did, still love what I do. And I stayed on doing some of it still for a couple of years of contract as well. But I have never looked back and thought I made a mistake.
Wow.
All the jobs I had been in with marketing and PR, obviously when you're working at Middle Memorial Hospital, that means you're going to serve a lot of time on some boards. You're working for Clayton Williams, you're going to serve time on boards.
Yep.
You're working at a bank, you're going to do that. And so I'd always been an avid community volunteer, but I had never worked in a nonprofit until 15 years ago when I stepped in the doors of the Nonprofit Management Center. I never thought of myself as an educator. I never thought of myself as a trainer. I thought of myself more as a strategic planner, and that comes a lot out of the PR background. And I had done a lot of that, but I never thought that I would suddenly be standing up in front of large groups and making presentations and helping them, because nonprofits, the people that work in nonprofits, the majority of them love the mission. They are there because of rescuing the animal, or they're there for that underserved child. They are not there because they love HR policies and procedures and financial policies and procedures, or understanding PPP loans that we're having to do now, or employee retention credits. So we're there to help them with that backside. Now I get to go to bed every night, put my head on the pillow, and know that I've helped somebody in the Permian Basin have a better day, have a better life, because we work with Health and Human Services, education, governmental entities, public benefit and societal benefit, religious organizations. We get to work with them all. And our service area is pretty much San Angelo, Abilene, La Mesa, El Paso to the Mexico border. Wow. To the Mexico border, not New Mexico border. So we have a huge service area. So I get to work with all sorts. And because I'm a lifelong learner, I just feel like I'm just a continuous learner. I'm always getting in. And even though I've worked with LSAO some, I'm not delivering this program, but I can tell you I know a lot about the program because I'm going to find out what I'm doing and what they're working with. And so I get to find out all of that. And I'm going to say, I know you're looking at college prep and you're looking at going to college. And I dropped out of graduate school for some various reasons early on. And for years when I was younger, I thought, if I only had that piece of paper that says a master's degree. I am not saying don't get a master's, but what I'm saying is I took all the opportunities, and all the employers I've had have given me the opportunity to, in my case, build my own master's. Yeah. I have gone and studied what I need to study. My life now spends a lot of time in law classes and in accounting classes and in HR classes. And governance classes. So build what you need. I'm going to say, build the life you want for yourself.
That's awesome. Lori, I love what you said about being a lifelong learner. And I just hope our students hear that, because we never get there. We're continuously evolving. We're continuously growing. And that's inspiring to hear that. So thank you for sharing that. and you really help us with the business side of the nonprofit sector. And there's a lot of legalese with the federal, the state, and the local government. So we're grateful that hopefully you're keeping us out of trouble. So we're grateful for that.
Well, and we're the ones that you call when you don't want to have to go out and research that issue. We can go do it for you.
Yes. So thank you so much. So, all right. So Adrian Vega, Adrian and I work together on a gazillion things. So it's exciting to have you on this call. And Adrian, just share with us your backstory and where you find yourself today.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, boys and girls. It's exciting to be with y'all today. So once again, my name is Adrian Vega, and I'm the Executive Director for the Education Partnership of the Permian Basin. Now, similar to what some of the other panelists said, I'm relatively new to the whole nonprofit world. I've only been in the nonprofit world for about 3 years, and the nonprofit organization that I work for is actually recently created. And I actually moved out here to the Permian Basin. This is my second go around to actually lead the organization that I get to be a part of. My background is actually in education, but in the formal sense, in terms of a K-12 system. So, for instance, I started out as a teacher, have done everything from, campus administrator, assistant principal. Actually, my last formal position, I was a school superintendent in South Texas. And to be quite honest with you, I would probably still be running a school system if it wasn't for this opportunity that I get to be a part of now. One of the unique things about the Education Partnership of the Permian Basin is that we represent, an approach to the work that's based on what is referred to as the collective impact model. And basically, in a nutshell, what that means is that every community has large social challenges. And in this case, our focus is around education. But our focus is grounded in education from the entire gamut of maybe your life, from the standpoint of we actually are focused on cradle, when babies are born, all the way up to career. So if you're a senior right now, or if you're a junior right now, and you're thinking about the next chapter of your life from a community standpoint, we want to make sure that we're helping connect all of the community resources to assist a school district, or to ensure that, for example, the work that LSAO is doing with communities and schools, that they're also further supported. Or, for example, we talked about, we had Christine representing the church community. Well, when we think about the work that we do, it's really about trying to connect all of the resources in a community to make a community stronger, cradle to career. One of the things I will say is that the importance of education, what I have found is that what education has provided for me, as well as some of the others on this panel, is it really just provides options, right? So the more education you have, really what that just means is you have the more options and opportunities you have. Now, one of the things that I would say is you're thinking about your life, if you are thinking about your life, like, what do I want to do? Or I'm not sure. The neat thing about nonprofits is it really gets away, or nonprofits are an opportunity to really pursue one's passion. And so, for instance, let's say if you are passionate about, let's say, a social issue, or you're passionate about, it was mentioned, maybe animals and they need more, a good homes, or you want to help feed the hungry, or you want to do some of these things. There aren't necessarily businesses per se that say, hey, well, I want to go and help feed the homeless, and so let me go to a business that does that. Typically, nonprofit organizations are entities that kind of fill in, challenges that a community might have that maybe an entity doesn't exist. And so the exciting thing is that there are ways that you can then say, follow your passion and say, you know what, I want to start up a nonprofit so I can fill that need in a community. And then thank goodness we have individuals like Lori at the Nonprofit Management Center that says, hey, well, you want to learn more about that? This is what you would need to do to start up a nonprofit. So one of the things I would say is y'all think about if this is a career path for you, there are amazing things about being in a nonprofit in terms of really, like I said, following your passion. But I would say that the difference between that and maybe working for a business or, another entity is that there are then things that an individual or that organization needs to do to make sure that they stay afloat. And in this case, as it was mentioned, it might be raising the necessary funds so that you can continue doing what you want to do in terms of your passion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to be talking about that or if that's going to be some of the questions you're going to lead us to, Mike. But, once again, glad to be here, guys. I look forward to discussing more in the remaining time that we have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it. Autumn, we saved the best for last. So here you are, and we educate Midland offices at Midland Shared Spaces. So I see Autumn quite a bit. And so Autumn, thanks for being here. And let's hear a little bit of your story and what you get to do.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here. I am the executive director of Midland Shared Spaces. We go by MSS now. And what we are is a couple of different things. We are a facility, we're a building, literally 35,000 square foot building that houses other nonprofits. So a nonprofit in our community that's serving in Midland County can come and be a tenant here at MSS, and we provide all of the IT services, office space, fully furnished, access to meeting rooms, and all sorts of opportunities for efficiency and efficient business use. And also we work to bring those tenant agencies together to encourage collaboration and working together for greater impact on our community. But we try to do more than that. We only have room for about 15 agencies in the building, but there are hundreds of nonprofits that serve in Midland County alone. And that is the focus of our mission, is Midland County. But we work to bring together nonprofits and encourage them and engage them in conversations and in relationship building so that we can all work together to better impact our community and better serve our community citizens. Because at the end of the day, we're all here to serve the people in our community. And so whatever we can do to support those efforts and really encourage them is what our goal is here at MSS. We have a lot of different programs we do that, but I'm kind of an oddball in this group. I was listening to everybody's incredible stories about how they got involved and where they came from. And I started out in nonprofit really young. Actually, I got started as a kid volunteering. My mom was a pink lady at the hospital. And so she would take me to volunteer with her on her weekends that she volunteered, and I got engaged. And then as a high school student, I became a candy striper. I was a Girl Scout. I was very engaged in volunteering and be a part of that kind of community. But I didn't understand it as a job exactly. And so I went to Texas Tech. I graduated here locally, Midland Lee. And so I went to Tech, and I swear I'd never come back to Midland. I was done. I'm sure you guys are all thinking that about where you Modessa and Midland the same way. So I went to Tech, and I started out with a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I took one class and I went, oof, not for me. I'm not doing this. And I kind of floated for a semester, and then I discovered mass communications and public relations. And so, like Lori, I got involved in learning about public speaking and working for PR and advertising and marketing, and that became a real passion for me. But in that process, I was introduced as an intern into working for a nonprofit. So when I was working on my undergraduate degree, I got to volunteer, I got to intern with the Children's Miracle Network at University Medical Center in Lubbock. And from there, that was it. I was done. I was hooked. And when I graduated from Tech, I was kind of floating, trying to figure out what's my next step. And UTPB here in Odessa had just opened up a brand new program for a master's in public administration. And I went and visited with the advisor at the time, and that was on a Friday. And somehow I was registered for my graduate program on Monday morning. And off I went. And so I'm the very first graduate from the University of Texas Permian Basin in the Master's of Public Administration program. I have a focus in economic development, but also in nonprofit leadership. And so I got involved, and I started working in travel and tourism, actually. And I started doing tourism with the Convention and Visitors Bureau in Midland, and then moved into working with the Commemorative Air Force. And I really loved what Adrian said about passion, because this career field, I have done some really cool stuff. I got to do PR and marketing for an international organization with the CAF, and I got to manage a tour company with a country music artist and airplanes, and just all kinds of cool stuff I got to do. And then now, after some years, I spent some time at Sibley Nature Center and came to MSS as the executive director. And this by far is the most incredible work that I get to do, because I am here to support other agencies in the community. I don't get to personally take care of children in need. I don't personally get to take care of the animals that are in the shelters, but I get to support those nonprofits that do. And so for me, I get to support a wide range, a broad variety of opportunity. Midland, I came back and I'm staying and I'm raising my kids here. I plan on staying here. Who'd have thought it 20 years ago, but I'm in. And I've been doing this for 16 years in nonprofit work, and I have no intention of stopping for a very long time. And the passions that I have been able to follow and experience have been really incredible. And it's all because of nonprofit work. Awesome.
Autumn, I think a couple of things. I was work close with Bob Rice, who kind of helped with the commemorative Air Force get started, and what an awesome thing to work around airplanes and in a museum and meet people from all over the world who come in. So when you think of nonprofit, there are so many different exposures we get to have that are once in a lifetime kind of moments, and you're hanging and working with some of the best people on the planet. So in Autumn, another thought I had is just to acknowledge your husband's service in the police force in Midland County, and we thank him and you for the sacrifices you all make to protect our community. So thanks for that.
I thank you for that. And that is something, it's in my family. We are in public service. My husband is with the Odessa Police Department, and giving in and being a part of our community is what's so important in who we are and what we do. And I will say, I have met some incredible people through this work. To your point, Mike, I've met Doolittle Raiders, and I've met some of the men and women who served and saved our country and have given us these freedoms that we have. And that is an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, you'll be telling those stories to your kids and maybe grandkids one day. So that's awesome. Very awesome. Well, listen, this has been a delight to go around the horn. And Amy, I'm wondering, do we have any questions that may be coming in that I can't see, or I can ask questions too? So I just wanted to check in with you.
So just go ahead and start, and I am monitoring, but we don't have any current questions. Students, if you have any questions, please be sure to post them, and we will have them asked live right here.
Excellent. Well, we'll be on the lookout for those questions. Well, so Carrie and I were talking the other day about this event, and she said, Mike, I think there's a great question you should ask us. So I'm going to throw this question out. If you could go back in time, don't you love it when we start a question with that, right? If you could go back in time, what subject would you pay more attention to in middle school or high school? Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to ponder that, and whoever wants to start, we'll just work our way around the circle. Whoever wants to jump in on that question. All right, Autumn, you got it.
Well, for me, I would say history, because I think that's how we determine our path forward in so many ways. But even more so, just because I fell in love with World War II history when I was with the CAF. And so now I have such a place in my heart for those people and for that work, that for me, history, I wish I paid a little bit more attention to it. But
all right. So there's a reason we take these classes in middle school and high school. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, who wants to jump in next? Okay, Carrie.
Since I brought it up, I figure I better answer. What I told Mike, my worst subject was math. I really hated math, and I wished I'd paid more attention, because I do more math in my job with financial stuff and, just all of the different pots of money. We try to figure out how to balance everything. And I've actually gone back and taken classes at a place that, like the Nonprofit Management Center, to learn how to really do financials and budgets and that kind of thing. So I wish I'd paid more attention to the math side of my education.
That's awesome, Carrie. Thank you. All right, Laurie, go ahead.
I would say the humanities. Because I was a nerd. I'm not going to lie. I was the book nerd. I loved to read. I didn't do math well, but I do financials really well. Didn't do math well, but and even though I was involved, like in choir and stuff, I was so abysmally shy. all the way through till, I mean, I remember the first class I had to teach at Nonprofit Management Center. I was like, oh my gosh, I've talked to hundreds of thousands around the world at an international news conference, but I'm looking straight at Adrian and I can't get the words out. And so I wish I had taken some more time to really help create some of those social skills that we really, really need.
That's awesome. And that's so important. And Lori, I want to say you're doing very well, so you're fine. But and this just speaks to, as we're talking here with our students, how important it is to know how to look someone in the eye and how to authentically engage where they feel like you're actually hearing and listening to them, and that other person really does matter to you and you want to engage with them. That's what we call a soft skill. But boy, that soft skill will take you through a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities, because boy, it's a vital piece to relationships and connections.
And Mike, I would say in this Zoom world, it is even so much more of a challenge.
Yes.
Because even on a call like this, I'm looking at who's ever speaking, but like when Adrian was speaking, he's down here on my screen. So I'm not making eye contact with anybody else in the room. And so we really have to think about, how are we going to create those skill sets if we're sitting on the other side of a computer?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh,
So
my
Mike,
goodness. Yes.
I have another question.
Excellent.
It's actually from Nimitz. So Ms. Hodges' class always joins us.
Excellent.
But they're asking, what are some day-to-day challenges in your job? And then I would like to also add, so talk about those day-to-day challenges, but then also how you overcome or you persist through those challenges.
Excellent. Great question from our students at Nimitz. All right. So who wants to jump in on that?
I'll go. You know, that's an interesting question. I think that's Ms. Hodges. I think Ms. Hodges had an opportunity last year to go and I think do some work in your class. So that was really cool. So students, I think it really depends on the type of nonprofit that each of these individuals are a part of. So for instance, when COVID hit, the nonprofits that help fill the gaps, such as the feeding insecurities or anybody helping around the medical, chances are they were on the front lines trying to address these challenges. The work that I do is kind of more like I said, at the macro level, we're trying to coordinate all these other resources. And so, you know, when we're talking about kind of big picture or long term about how do we make sure that kids are kindergarten ready starting at birth, or how do we make sure that all of y'all have a career pathway once y'all graduate and connect those resources. When we were facing a pandemic, those seemed kind of secondary. It didn't mean that they weren't there. They absolutely are there, because every year there's going to be an incoming kindergarten class. Every year there's going to be a graduating, you know, seniors. But in the face of, let's say, a disaster, the nonprofits like a Red Cross, I know Carrie was talking about that, they're front lines. And so they're addressing those immediate needs. Once things are kind of, you know, status quo and we're not dealing with these major issues, then depending on the work, some of the challengers are going to be, you know, vary from work to work. I know that now part of the challenge might just be coordinating schedules, making sure we're able to even have a meeting, making sure, you know, that you're juggling, you know, the different schedules. But I would say in the nonprofit world, and I'll close with this, one of the challenges that's always there is going back to the fundraising issue. And I don't want to harp on that, but that's the reality. So the upside is, if you're passionate about something, by all means, nonprofit allow you to accomplish that. The day-to-day reality of making sure you're able to wake up every morning and pursue your passion then is having to work in community or raise funds so that you're able to continue doing that. So that would be, I guess, the tension or the give and take.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, Carrie.
Like Adrian said, there are different challenges that we face. And I can answer, like on the Red Cross side, when you have a challenge for a major disaster, And even within the agency, what I have found is I reach out to people that have an expertise in that area.
Mhm.
So if I had a challenge at the United Way with a problem that maybe I'm having with financials or something, I may reach out to Lori and say, hey, can you help me with this? Or give me your expertise. It may be we're trying to solve something that I can go back to my board. You have a board of leaders for a reason, so you can reach out to them and they can help you solve issues. If you're on the front line like a Red Cross, you still were, and I can give you an example. We had a big disaster in Puerto Rico where there was we had all of our access points were wiped out. We couldn't get in by water. We couldn't get in by air. You couldn't land anything because of the debris. So we sat in a room with all these experts around saying, let's solve this problem together. And I think you do that with any nonprofit on whether it's a little issue or a big issue. I sit around and problem solve with my staff. I problem solve with my board. I problem solve with the majority of people that's on this team that's talking. I think we do a lot of that, so it's not just one person.
That's so powerful to begin to comprehend that we can't do this alone. We have to walk through this understanding that we're all connected. We need one another, and no one person is the expert on anything, but we all are experts at something, and we can contribute toward finding solutions and answers. So Carrie and Adrian, thanks.
Hey, Mike, I want to throw in an answer for this and stuff, because I'm coming from the corporate world and then coming into, on the for-profit side for many years, and now being on the nonprofit side, because it's still a business, everybody and stuff. For instance, it's the nonprofit business, right? And so a lot of people forget that part of the phrase. And so we're still registered with the Attorney General of Texas. We're still under the Texas Business Code, just like anything else. And so as a nonprofit, what it's more akin to me, for one thing, compared to the corporate world for profit, is like you still have a lot of the same pressures. The revenue thing I thought was a fear of mine coming in nonprofit, having to raise money. You have to raise money all the time, the fundraising to run a nonprofit, to keep it going. But really, it's not any different. I actually probably had more pressure when I was at Motorola. I had to meet my numbers every year, every quarter, every month, and I had to report out on that stuff. If you open up any kind of business, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to sell product, you got to sell service.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of pressure of keeping that revenue stream going. As a manager, as a director, you're always under that pressure and stuff. But I think on the nonprofit side, I think what's different from the for-profit side for me is this congeniality and stuff, this networking among the schools. And so rather than feeling so much of I'm competing for this business over here, right, to sell my product, it's more like everyone's saying here, that's like, it's more of it's almost crowdsourcing of services, right? And so we all pitch in, we can all count on each other, we can all call each other for the most part. And so that's a huge difference from the for-profit side. And then day-to-day challenges, it all depends what level. We're all directors here, I think managers on this panel, but you got to remember, you got people that, deal with all the HR issues every day. You got an accountant, maybe you got a business manager, maybe you've got a COO, whatever, depending on the size of your organization. If you're a small organization, then you got to take care of it all yourself if you're the boss. Yeah. But I think the hard part for me as an executive director is like not actually pulling back from all that day-to-day operations. And it's up to me, it's up to everybody on this panel to do the big picture strategizing, the strategic planning and vision that you have for your organization. And so you can't get too bogged down. You got to take care of everything day to day and all the issues. And, but you have to pull back at some point and say, okay, wait a minute, where are we headed here and stuff? And it's like, and I have to make a decision on where we're headed, and I've got to get people behind me. So
awesome. Well, because what that says is you've got this big picture and it's going to take 150 steps to get there. And today we're going to take step 10, right? And so as a student right now, you're looking at, I've got homework I've got to do. I've got papers I need to write, and you're looking at what do I need to do to graduate, especially if you're a junior this year. And if you're a senior, man, it's just downhill. And so everything that you just heard Eliseo share is literally what we have to practice at every level. Keep the big picture, keep the goal, but understand it's going to be a lot of steps, and take those steps every day. And you're going to wake up and go, I got here. Autumn, you had your hand up. I want to get to you.
Well, it was just, I was thinking about, as he was talking, Eliseo was talking, I was thinking about, I've called myself a hat rack over time, because I don't know that there's any other career where you really have the opportunity to do so many different tasks.
Yeah.
Because we are small staffs most of the time. And we have a passion for the work we do. We work in a team dynamic, I think more so than what you would find anywhere else in industry. I have 7 people on our team. I'm the executive director, but I work alongside them in the way that I expect them to work alongside me. It's not me sitting in my office on a throne on high, pointing my finger and saying, do this. It's all of us getting in there together and doing the work. And so it's just interesting. One day I have on my accounting hat, and one day I have on my human resources hat, and the next day it's my fundraising hat. And so it's exciting, it's challenging, it's daunting sometimes, because there are so many different aspects of what we do. But it's such an incredible opportunity to have such a diverse focus. I mean, there's nowhere else where we get to have these kinds of experiences that we have on a day-to-day basis. And I would say, as you're thinking about going into nonprofit, if you're thinking about going into nonprofit, there's no place better to work in nonprofit than Midland, Odessa, because we have some of the most giving community members, giving foundations, supportive foundations, and access to those fundraising dollars, more so here than you will find anywhere else. It's just an incredible community of giving hearts.
That is so true, Autumn. Thank you for really shedding a light on that. Lori, a hand up. Go ahead.
I'm listening to Autumn and Eliseo, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if I wasn't all that familiar with nonprofits and the nonprofit arena in which we work, I would be thinking, why would I take on all of this, do all of this, when I could maybe go be working instead of at a Midland Children's Clinic, I could go be working at Midland Memorial Hospital, where I've got shared groups. And also, I hear that you don't get paid in nonprofits. And I want to put a rest to that. Years ago, yes, people started nonprofits and they didn't get paid, and they did it for very little. There has been an extreme amount of work, at least as long as I've been doing this in the last 15 years, pushing nonprofits to pay people adequately, to have benefits, to give them 403Bs, and to give them health insurance, or help provide for health insurance. So don't let that thought that, oh my gosh, if I go into nonprofits, that means I'm going to be living off of Medicaid and food stamps for the rest of my life. You're not.
Yeah.
But what you do get to do is you maybe have to do more with less on your program side, but you get to do something that you really, really, truly enjoy.
Absolutely. Lori, thank you. Great perspective. Christine, yes.
Hey, I would just like to, from the church perspective, the biggest challenge is often the biggest opportunity, because every week the weekend's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so every week it's on me to mobilize a team of servant leaders to execute the work of the ministry. And so it's really rewarding. It's really challenging, but it's also really impactful and meaningful.
Absolutely. Yes. And I spent some time in ministry, and I empathize with you there. And I totally feel what you're talking about. There's a lot of stress. It's Friday afternoon. You got a lot on your mind right now. So I think, Amy, I saw another question. Did you see something pop up that we want to throw out to the panel?
So one of the questions is, when you're thinking about making change, and many of you have talked about change, whether that was change in your majors, change in your careers, moving into the nonprofit from the profit sector, change in your positions. There's a certain fear about going against some norms. And sometimes, I mean, COVID is not normal. It wasn't normal when it hit. And we've had to change a lot of the things that we do or how we do them. How do you handle overcoming those fears to make the necessary changes?
Wow, that's a profound question. Okay, who's up for it?
I love change. You know that for me, working for me, with me, Mike.
Yes.
To me, that's what makes life interesting and exciting. And changing those norms and shifting the paradigm, as the cliche goes and stuff. And so that's what COVID did for us.
Yeah.
True. Everybody uses that cliche paradigm shift, but I tell people a paradigm shift is when your customer base changes, when the way you do your service to those customers changes, and the environment that you in as an organization are in. All of those things have been changed by COVID for us. Yeah. So we had to adapt. If we weren't flexible and innovative as an organization, it's just like I said, like opening up any kind of business, right? There's a very entrepreneurial spirit to doing a nonprofit, basically. And so if the environment you're in changes and you don't adapt and innovate, you become irrelevant. And so that's the approach that I'm taking, that we've took as an organization, and I try to teach to my staff that it's like COVID changed things. So we had to adapt and to remain relevant in supporting our schools and stuff and our students and our families. And so we've done that. Yeah. We've changed the way we provide our services, and that's going to be the new norm, even when COVID settles down. And so, again, but that's what makes to me is exciting. I know a lot of people aren't comfortable with change. They like being comfortable. They like, maintaining status quo, but I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody on this panel is.
Yeah. No, we're being pushed all over. Laura, you got a hand up.
That's right. There's an old saying that says, if you decide not to change, you have made a decision to change. You don't have the real option. Yeah. You can change to move forward, or you can change to be status quo, or even become obsolete. Yep. And it's not just in what your organization is doing, but quite honestly, if you're at a place in your life, when you get into a career, we all got out of school and we went and got what we thought we were going to do. And then we think, ooh, this isn't what I really want to do. I have something else I want to do. If you are not willing to make that change, and you're willing to be miserable or be stuck in some place where you don't want to be for the rest of your life.
Good.
So don't be afraid to change your plan after you get started.
Great, Lori. Carrie, I saw a hand.
Well, I will say I agree with what my panelists are saying, because I think change is very important. Having had a career for 18 years in the insurance industry, when I went into the nonprofit, I had a lot of fear because I was giving up a really good career, making really good money. Mm-hmm. And so that change was, even just thinking about it, there was a lot of fear around it. And I spent a lot of time asking questions and really kind of saying, let me come in and spend some time with you to see what this is about. But I would say explore, ask questions, see what you're getting into, whether it's changing college, your major, or whether it's, get in there and explore and see if it's something you're interested in. Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith.
Yeah, that's so true. And it takes courage, and it also requires that you trust yourself. You can trust yourself. You can get there. Autumn, did I see a hand up?
Yeah, I think about this. One of the things I hate, the worst phrase I hate so much is, well, we've always done it that way.
Oh. Yeah.
I cannot stand it when somebody says that to me, because gosh, that is so boring. Why are you doing something because you've always done it that way? That doesn't mean that it's right. It just means that it's become stagnant and stale. For me, I love change because I like the challenge of change. Yeah. I like the opportunities that it affords us to do something different or outside the box or move forward in a new way. We can't stay still and stagnant. COVID aside, anything else aside, the community changes, the people that we serve change, the needs change. And if we don't follow that need, if we don't follow those people, then why are we here? What's our purpose other than to follow them and support them? And so I love change for change's sake. Sometimes it's just, you need it to stay fresh and to stay engaged, because gosh, I'd be so bored if we didn't have change.
LSA used the word relevant, and
Yeah.
I believe that's the key. We want to be relevant with what we do.
Can I
see-
tie that back real quick? I'm
Please,
sorry.
go ahead.
I didn't really answer the question about which class I would pay attention to.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I didn't answer is because I couldn't think of which one not to pay attention to, because this is the reason, right, to be ready for all that change. It's like, I don't know. And this goes for whether, you're in class, and I know the kids are going to think I'm full of crap, but it's like, you got to pay attention to all the classes, okay? And outside of class. Because I'll tell you stuff, I did not realize that my background as a farm worker, right, and stuff was going to come into place. And I won't go into details when I was in environmental chemistry and environmental engineering. Okay, it came into play. That background did. I don't know. I lost my earpiece here. One of the most impactful classes I've had. I was like I said, a science major. But to this day, the most impactful class was a class I was going to blow off in college. I was a junior or senior and took it as an easy A, and it was world religion. And that class had the most impact on my entire life and stuff, because we studied the major religions of the world. But in my class, when my university was at, there were Buddhists in the class. There were Hindi in the class. There were Muslims in the class with me. And so I got to know the rest of my world. Yeah. Brothers and sisters. And like I said, that's had an impact on my life to this day. That's become one of the most important and relevant classes. And I thought it was just a blow off easy A course. And so, but it, like I said, it has an impact to me to this day. So you never know. You never know what's going to come into play.
You never know what's going to be a life changer till you get exposed to it. So,
yeah.
Amy, we hit 12:01. So what's our protocol here? You're muted. Yep.
I think that we'll continue because the conversation is great, but I do want to let you know that there is going to be a poll that comes out so our students can vote on their most, I guess, the career that's interesting them to the most, or maybe that they would be voting for, getting the gold ticket. Don't take offense to anybody. Everybody's doing a great job. We don't want anybody to turn in their resignation letter after this poll. It's not that important, but our students want to give their voice, and I think that you're also going to be able to vote, so nobody's going to know you voted for yourself. So the poll will be popping up, but let's continue the conversation. If you do need to leave, we do understand. We thank you so much for your time. If there's, of course, just like LSAO just circled back, if there's a question that comes to mind and you're like, hey, I need the students to know this, then please let them know. The next question might be, what does your position provide that no other position that you've had provided? And that kind of can give you maybe an edge on the voting poll right now.
Ooh. All right. Look, you're now politicians. You're running for a vote. So
I'll jump in on that one.
Yes.
I never thought I would be a building manager. I'm and a rental specialist. So that's kind of a weird fit for me. So not only do I get to work and support nonprofits, I also have to manage a 35,000 square foot building. And with that comes all of the ins and outs of that. And I have a great team that does the work and the support here. But if you're into real estate, who knows? You could do that as part of your work in nonprofits.
Yeah. Well, and then look at all the support staff you have, from maintenance to custodial work and information technology. It's amazing the team you put together, and all of those are skill sets that you can take and walk into a nonprofit and have a fit, because all those things, especially the IT side, we need everywhere. Oh, yes, Christina.
I would say my response to that question is a continued development. While we have many hats and the tasks are monumental, there is still opportunity for continuing education development that's put in to enhance our skills, develop our skills, make us better at our roles and our positions. And there's this theory that kind of old-fashioned, well, if you develop them and they acquire all of these skills, what if they leave? But there's the other side of this factor and how we would like to and try to implement, but what if they don't? You're only strengthening your organization. You're making it better and stronger. And you're sharing those skills, because that person that you're developing is working amongst the rest of the team and sharing that perfect world. So I would say that is one of those for me.
That's great. And I thinking about that, I think about the time I worked with LSA in communities and schools, and I had a change that I knew I needed to walk through, but they gave me a skill set that I needed that helped me walk into a whole nother world of work. And so I'm grateful for the exposure that I was afforded when I was working with communities and schools. So when change comes, a lot of times it's prep. You're being prepared for more change. And then you get pushed beyond what makes you feel safe and secure. And you get to explore things that you're unfamiliar with. And that's where personal growth really begins to happen. So, all right. Who else? Yes, Carrie.
One skill that I never thought I would really need or have to use or learn how to do is work with elected officials. And not only on the local level, but senator, House of Representative, doing advocacy work and things like that. And, you know, it's something that's very interesting when you get into, but it's something going into nonprofit world that you just don't think of as a skill set that you really need.
That's for sure. And my goodness, there's so much that legislation, how it impacts us locally, and how we've got to be involved at a county and a state level and even a federal level. So that's a great perspective. So that's government and how it works and how laws are passed and how those laws affect our day-to-day in so many areas that we all work in. Thanks, Carrie. Yes, Lori.
A skill that I thought I had, but I found out very quickly when I got to the center I didn't have a good grasp on it, was truly listening. I had good communication skills. I had good hearing skills. But I found out very quickly my listening skills were not where they needed to be. And that is probably something that I have to practice 365 days a year to always remind myself about being a listener and not a hearer.
That's profound.
Hey, Lori, does that go for, explain yourself, because I've got two different pictures of that. Externally, when you're talking to a client or customers, I call them customers or clients, right? The people you're serving, or internally with your staff, i.e. HR.
I think it goes both ways, Elisandro, for me. I'm sorry, the phone was ringing. I had to turn my mic off. I think it goes both ways, because I catch one thing somebody told me early on when I first started studying back on how to really become a listener is if you're always hearing and already figuring out what your next statement's going to be and how you're going to reply, you're not listening.
That's good. You
have just heard just the very beginning. And years ago, when I was the PR director at Midland Memorial Hospital, we had a young man, actually it was Jessica McClure's father, who would always get asked questions at the news conferences, and he would oftentimes hesitate. And people would think that they would make comments about he didn't know what he's doing, or he didn't understand. No, what I found out from him was he didn't answer until he had thought through what he needed to say.
Yeah.
And to learn that from a 16-year-old when you're a 30-year-old is pretty tough lesson. But I think it goes all the way, because even if it's in a disciplinary action and an HR issue, you've got to understand both sides.
Wow. So I just think about being a student, how that translates to communicating with your teacher when an assignment's been given and you're confused about it, and you may have questions, or you may even be frustrated because you may feel something's not fair. But to have the skill set to say, I need to just listen to what my teacher has to say, it can be a game changer.
Having a pregnant pause in a conversation is not a bad thing. No. But we race and rush and rush. And so we think that if we can't immediately respond right back, that we don't know the answer. But we need to stop and think about what we just heard, and even sometimes restate it before we answer it.
It's good. It's good.
Silence is golden sometimes.
Yeah.
That's what that makes me think of, Lori.
It's good. And I think sometimes we're afraid of silence. So it's great discipline to say it's okay to be in silence. Christine, please.
One of the things I discovered with working with a lot of different people is not everybody is a fast processor. Some people just need time to process. And my husband is a slow processor. And I always want to know what he thinks, because it's often the slow processors that have the better answers because they've thought it through better than me. That's just like, hey, it's this, you know? And I've learned to just really, if I really want to know an answer to a question, like I'll give people time to answer so they don't feel like they just have the pressure to answer right away, but they have enough time to process.
That's great skill sets. I can't say enough about what I'm hearing here. Anyone else have an insight or a thought you want to share?
Well, I mean, I guess I want to build upon this conversation about listening. You know, in one of the positions I had when I was working through my career, you know, a mentor of mine told me, especially when, you know, we're talking about leadership, is that, you know, he said, Adrian, just always remember you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means you should probably be doing twice the listening than speaking. And so that's something that has helped me out. And I've realized I don't always have to be the one out in front. I'm realizing that now. I mean, you know, but that's one of these things about growing and developing and maturing as an individual. I think a lot of times, you know, when I was young or whatever, it was like, oh, I want to be out in front, or, oh, I want to show that I have the answer. Ooh, you know, I'm realizing that's not necessarily always the case. So that has helped me out. 2 ears and 1 mouth.
And it's a humble position, right? It's a humble place to take. And I think walking in humility is well, that's a character trait, and that has to be developed. It doesn't just happen. We have to practice that. So I want to encourage everyone who hears this. You're getting some life wisdom here from some great people. So, Amy, I see you took your mic off, so go ahead.
Yes. That's been my skill to develop. Knowing when my mic's off and when to speak. So I do have the poll results. And although it was a very close race, we appreciate all of you. Autumn, you're our winner.
Whoa, way to go, Autumn.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm humbled. It's I really do appreciate it. This has been such a joy. I really enjoy this and getting to share my path and my story, because I think we just have, look at this group. Look at this group. These are some amazing people that I get to work beside every day. I love this. So thank you.
Yes. I think that's might be why you had the edge, because it's kind of like you do a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, from the bottom all the way to the ground up with Lori training everyone. So we do appreciate all of your time today. And I'm looking at this amazing panel, and I know that our children are seeing themselves in you. And I appreciate the life advice. Man, I've learned from you today as well, and been reminded of a few things that I will be putting more focus and effort towards. So as we wrap up, I would like for you to take a little time to think. And what would be your closing advice to our students? And then Mike, you can just kind of round robin it, and we appreciate you so very much.
We'll close out on that then, it sounds like. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you guiding us through this process. So as I look at the Hollywood squares here, and that's dating me, I'm going to start top left, and Eliseo, that's you. So I'm going to throw the ball to you on that one. Yes, sir.
I'm the one that needs time to think. And
well, I can go another.
No. There's so much to say. You know, I was when I left corporate world, I went in and became a teacher and coach first, and then before I completely went into nonprofits. So it's like I always have a lot I want to say to youngsters when I talk to them. So I'll try to keep it short. I mean, the main thing is this is my 4th career and nonprofit, and this is the most worthwhile, the most important, the most impactful thing that I do. It's made me the happiest professionally of anything else I've ever done. And so teaching is a close second, but you know, and I was, like I said, leading a group with people all over the world and stuff, and that was exciting and invigorating and stuff and challenging. But this is really kind of ties it all together for me, being able to do this, all my skill sets and all my experiences, and professionally and personally. So the only thing I'd like to leave them with also is just, I think the thing that when I was young, I know, and as you guys are young right now, stuff at y'all's age, the thing that would almost stop me from trying to do things is the fear of making a mistake. And you need to throw that crap out the window right now and stuff. It's like, it's just, that's not a non-issue. It is, quit putting things in terms of right and wrong. It's not about right and wrong. Like I tell my sons and I tell my staff, it's like, it's about, are you willing to take the responsibility to make a decision? Have the guts to make the decision. Be willing to take responsibility for that decision. And then if you work your hardest to make that decision, to do the best you can after you've made that decision, then that's the right decision.
Good.
So, I mean, and so there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be, bumps in the road. Of course there is. It's stuff. Life ain't easy and stuff. It's like, nobody's promising you a rose garden here and stuff. It's like, but it's tough. You just keep moving, man. And it all works out. Like I said, if you do your best and with some determination and reaching out for help, it works out in the end.
Resiliency. That's awesome. Thank you. Christine, let's throw the ball to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would just, from a children's pastor, I would just want you to know that you're created in the image of God. And I believe that you have a unique design, called, and gifting on your life. And so kind of what Alize was saying, like press into the hard, persevere. Every challenge that is before you is there to stretch you and to grow you. And I hope that you'll just have that mindset and dig deep, because we believe you're capable of so much. And I would tell you too that you're not supposed to do life alone. That God's wired us for relationship. And I hope you know that there is a community out here that wants to be in relationship with you. And if you're not a part of a local church, I hope you'll find one that you can grow and be a part of.
Christine, thank you so much. Autumn, let's hear what's on your mind here.
Oh gosh, it's hard. I have a couple things floating around in my head, but I think for me, I would say as you go through your life, as you leave high school, as you go to college, as you come out of college, don't ever feel like your college degree makes you the expert. Don't feel that your high school degree makes you the expert. Your experiences and the people that you surround yourself with can help you become the expert, but you will never have just the right answer to every problem. And it will always be a challenge. And that should be that way, because you need to open yourself up to continuing to grow and continuing to learn forever. Never stop learning and expanding your own opportunities and capabilities. And to Christine's point, and to what I said earlier, build your community. You do need people around you. I have the great luxury of working with this group of individuals and with an entire nonprofit sector in Midland County and beyond. And those are the people that I surround myself with. And I am proud to have them around me because they make me better. They make me want to be better. And they help me be better by being my mentors, my sounding boards, my friends. And I've learned so much from all of them. So surround yourself with people who make you better, who make you want to be better and expand who you are and your own capabilities. Look at the people that you spend time with today, because at 16, 15, 17, it doesn't matter. Those people help shape you. So make sure the ones that you're giving power to are the ones that are helping you become who you need to be.
Powerful. Thank you, Autumn. Thank you. Lori, let's hear from you.
Oh, wow. I look around this group and I realize that I am the elder statesman, and that does not mean I am smarter than anybody or positioned higher than anybody. For everybody listening, that means I'm older than anybody else on this call. And I think back to when I first got out of college 41 years ago and started working, and I have worked ever since, of all the things I have learned and the mistakes I've made and the things that I wish I'd known then that I know now. And there's two: be a continual learner. Never give up on learning, never become stagnant. But the second one, I know I'm not good at it. and I will just say that right now, and that is your life is more than what you go get a paycheck from. Your life is about your family, your faith, your community. Don't do like I have done so many years of my life and made it all about the job. And I looked back in the mirror and going, I'm not having any fun. I'm not having fun at my job. I'm not having fun at work. I mean, at work or home. I'm just not having fun because all I'm doing are the tasks at hand. Make sure that you have a good blend of your life. And if you go to work every morning and you've picked a job because it makes a lot of money, and you go to work every morning and you're unhappy and you're making everybody around you unhappy and your family unhappy, you better start looking at what do you really want to accomplish? Because do you want to meet the maker someday and say, gee, I had a miserable time, glad it's over? Or can you say, I made the most of the time that I was given?
That's wisdom, Lori. Thank you.
That's old wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. Christina, what's on your mind for our students?
I would say our young students, our youth, are our future leaders. We will be in the middle of or exiting our careers and kind of dropping off. So we need them to take over our positions and our philanthropy, our nonprofit backgrounds. If we possess our skill sets and we share those and we empower them, they will fall in right behind us. So continue to explore this background, volunteer, join your philanthropy courses in high school, college, whatnot, and trust your leaders. Reach out to them, pick their brain, ask questions, give them feedback. If you're surrounding yourself with good people and good influences, they will strengthen your values that you already possess, and continue to develop you. But develop that trust and surround yourself with those mentors. They will guide you.
Excellent, Christina. Thanks for that share. Adrian, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Mike. I guess what I would offer to y'all guys is, and we've touched upon it, in terms of if we're really talking about meaning and purpose of life, a couple of things is, first of all, once again, I do want to echo the importance of education from this standpoint. I know at times, and, is already touched upon, you might be wondering, well, what I'm learning right now have to do with real life or whatever the case might be. But I will say this, in my own experience and what I know in the life of others, is that in a very practical and pragmatic sense, the more education you have, the more opportunities and options you have. That's just because every job or career is going to require a prerequisite, and do you have, that prerequisite? So obviously, if you graduate from high school and don't pursue any more, education, doesn't mean that you won't find a job, but it's going to be more limited than if you get a little bit of college under your belt, or if you get a bachelor's or so on. It just provides more options and opportunities. With that said, I would say this, one of the neat things about this group in particular, every single job we have is about serving and helping others. Mm-hmm. So what I tell my own kids is, if you want to pursue, let's say, something in corporate America, or if you want to pursue even being a doctor or a lawyer, I tell my own personal kids, I hope you do it still with a socially conscious kind of awareness to you, because there's always people in need. And I know that what part of the meaning that I find in life and purpose is helping others. And so that would be what I would offer to y'all, is that I hope that, whatever you choose, that you decide to volunteer or contribute to help make whatever community you're in a better place. And we all have an opportunity to make a difference if we're willing to help others.
Thank you, Adrian. Carrie, you get to close us up. So we're going to throw the ball to you.
I know, they took all the good stuff. I would say, don't let fear stop you. Keep trying new things. Be open to new things. Go after something you're passionate about. Like Lori said, you don't want to get stuck in a career you're not happy with, because you'll be miserable through life. find out what your passion is and go after it. And if that's not working, go after something else. Don't let fear stop you, because I cannot tell you how rewarding it is when you have something you are truly passionate about. So go after what you're passionate about, and learn from your mistakes. We all make them. So, okay, we made a mistake, learn from it and go on. Don't let it set you backwards. Thank
you, Carrie. Thank you to every single one of our panelists. You all are absolutely amazing. And it's just an honor to work with each of you. And I am privileged to know you and to pace with you in so many different ways. So Amy, thank you for this opportunity. Ravi and your team, thank you for this opportunity. And all of our students, we want the very best for you. We're here to help you. We're here to walk with you through these things. If you have questions, I think there's a way for us to get those questions, or we can get back with you on it. So please spend some time thinking about this and then let us know what your questions are. We'd love to hear from you in the future. So Amy, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. Students, if you do have questions, you can send them through us, through the Access platform. And if you are interested in volunteering, which I encourage you to do as often as you can in as many areas as you can, because when you volunteer and serve others, it gives you an internal blessing as well that builds your character. So reach out to any of these people within our community. Y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Y'all take care.